Yo, what's up? What's going on? What's good, everybody? It's the Boxing Source checking in here, and I got a great guest with me. Of course, he's been covering the sport for some time now. We've been at multiple boxing events, including what happened last Saturday there with Boots Ennis and Karen Chikazian. He is a videographer, journalist, photographer, announcer for the Golden Gloves. Here, glad to have him on with me. It's the topic. What's going on, man?
What up, buddy? Hey man, I appreciate the introduction. First of all, you know what I'm saying? I appreciate you, man. How you feeling?
Oh man, I'm still trying to recover from the weekend, man. It was, a lot of activity over the weekend, making a couple trips out from, Norfolk and then going from Norfolk to Philadelphia and getting back. And so, I'm still, trying to recover from all that. But I mean, we had like a lot of action, that was going down, over the weekend. Of course, starting off, talk about, what happened there in Philadelphia, main event, IBF welterweight title fight, rematch between Boots Ennis and Karen Chikazian. Boots Ennis was able to, get that unanimous decision win over Karen Chikazian, but there were a lot of expectations of Jerron Boots Ennis going into this fight. And, at least for me, I was saying, and you were right there, with me, you seen how frustrated I was with that particular performance there from Jerron Boots Ennis. So go ahead and share what you were thinking when you were watching it live.
Okay. So Boots is a world-class fighter. That's no question. But I'm noticing now that he signed with Matchroom and he's on that bigger platform where we can fully watch all his fights, And something that I heard too. When you're a main event, you also open that door to get critiqued like a main event. So when you are adamant about wanting those big fights, big fights, like they say, you're only as good as your last performance.
Mm-hmm.
And when you talk about, a guy named Bud Crawford, pound for pound, great guy, we expecting to see flawless or near flawless performances. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And we both were at the last two Boots fights when he fought. It was David Avanesian.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was like a last minute or like a later replacement.
Right.
And then this one, when he fought Karen Chukarzan. I'm trying to pronounce it right because I talked to him at the weigh-in. Chukarzan. Karen Chukarzan. But anyway, it's like with that performance from Boots, Boots looked good, you know what I'm saying? He looked flawless, but we were expecting him to show that he's a class above this guy in order to for us to put him, in that next bracket. He
Mm-hmm.
kind of fought, I'm gonna say he made that fight tougher than what he really had to do. He was doing like a lot of head hunting in there. That's something we both were talking about. We didn't see too much of him really investing into the body to break down Karen.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Karen, he was a game opponent. You know what I'm saying? Like he was a game opponent. He was in there. He didn't come to lay down. He didn't get the draw, but I mean, he didn't get the nod, but he still gave him a good fight. You know what I mean? He was touching Ennis, had pretty decent movement. And you could tell, like, at times, Ennis was getting a little frustrated. You know what I mean? Maybe because he had the pressure of the crowd, of his hometown crowd, and he went that spectacular knockout and this and that,
Mm-hmm.
where he might not have been listening to his corner, or I don't know. But I feel like it was a dominant performance. Like, there's no question that he won. You know what I'm saying? But like I say, when you're a main event, you open that door to get critiqued as well, like a main event. And I feel like some of the things I would love to see him approve upon, um, a little more beating his guys up. Not necessarily always just looking for that flash or that flashiness or that quick knockout.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you might gotta go to the body like we were talking about to really start, wearing these guys down where it comes around 8, 9, 10, then that's when you can really start to style on them and, open up and get in your bag a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I think early on he had his mind, probably because he was in his hometown, he got all his people with him and all the fans in the city. He went that spectacular knockout. And everybody knows when you chasing it, that's when it rarely comes how you want it. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
I think he could have, beat this guy up, beat this guy up just a little bit more before he went to that, KO mode. What do you think?
Now, you talked about, having that. extra set of eyes there as far as like being the main event, being on Matchroom Boxing. This is his second fight, there with Matchroom Boxing. So a number of fight fans or whatever are looking to see what way he's going to do. And of course, he's coming up there, with the record, had like one of the highest knockout streaks in the sport before facing Karen Chikadzian the first time, over there at the Verizon Center, right? And with what happened in that particular fight, you've seen Karen Chikadzian move a lot, and that you've seen Boots Ennis not necessarily, try to do what was needed in order to properly cut the ring off there in that first fight. Ended up being a clean sweep decision victory that time. But as you said, like in the rematch, a number of people expected him to get a knockout here. And what had me was that on two different spectrums. From an offensive standpoint, we know how talented Jerome Boots Ennis is, but we weren't able to see that bag as you mentioned there. You kind of seem to be predictable or one dimensional at times when it came to as you mentioned head hunting. When he was throwing the counter, he was throwing the same counter each time, thinking that he would be successful with that counter.
What was that counter? Which one was? Let me see if you go say it.
Right uppercut.
Write that up. Yep.
So you like didn't mix it up with the hook. You didn't, switch it up with like a left hand or something like that. Given your, overall qualities and like I said, athleticism, you should be the faster fighter. So you could be able to, catch him with a left hook while he's, throwing his left jab or whatever it is. Didn't see that. And he seemed to like admire his work when he was able to stun Sugar John, right? And that's when you've seen him, try to go for, a knockout, but still go upstairs, not mix it up, not go to the body. And by going to the body, you give your opponent different looks as far as like a defensive standpoint, because they won't be able to like keep a high guard. They'll have to think about going low and things like that. So I felt like, with Boots Ennis there, he seemed one dimensional there on an offensive standpoint. And then on the defensive standpoint, he used his athleticism and reflexes instead of using that in-hand technique. So that's why you've seen him get caught with a number of right hands, because he would have his left hand low. And that to me is a fundamental issue. And that's something that you should already have, embedded in your mind, that you got to be able to keep your left hand up, especially if your opponent's strong hand is your right hand. We've seen, Boots Ennis get caught with a number of those right hands by Karen Chikadzian. Imagine if it's someone that has like a more power, what would happen then? So you don't want to have those type of thoughts in fans' minds or analysts' minds that saying, hey, why is he having his hand low? Why is he not being more disciplined when it comes to hand defense? And so with that, I was just very disappointed in his performance. Yes, he got the unanimous decision, but when you have someone like Boots Ennis, who is currently ranked number one in the welterweight division, and he's supposed to be a class above like everybody else in the welterweight division, I got to be able to see that, from multiple aspects. And in this particular fight, you kind of like seeing hints of it, but there are also other things there where I say, hey, if he fights a certain fighter and slips up like that, he might be in trouble.
But see, like I don't want to see. It could be a variable of things with his performances, because like when he came off that first fight with Corinne, and then he fought, I think it was Romain Villa. Mm-hmm. He fought Romain Villa. Romain Villa had fought Rashidi Ellis. Rashidi Ellis was a solid fighter, and Romain Villa stopped Rashidi Ellis. No, so then Boots.
That was a win.
One more time.
That was a decision win.
Well, Romain Villa and Rashidi Ellis?
Yeah, that went to full 12. Remember, like all those fights on that card with the full 12 except for the Tank fight.
Okay. My bad. I thought he stopped him, but Boots fought Villa next, and that performance right there, Boots looked phenomenal. You know what I mean? Like Boots looked. I don't know if it's a certain style of opponent, stylistically that makes, because Boots like those guys that come forward. Those, but the last guy, Corinne Kareem got a little movement. He's a good boxer. Kareem's not just gonna stand there in one place and let you. He gonna punch, pivot, turn, roll. Which could be challenging for some guys to look good on. Like
Mm-hmm.
Kareem's a problem. Some guys, even though they might not necessarily be the A side, are good B side problems to see where you at. You know what I mean? Those are good guys to gauge
Mm-hmm.
where your bag is. And Corinne's one of those guys, you know what I'm saying? But like I was saying, that performance against Villa is like, and it's looked like the next great welterweight. And then he comes and fights like a older, I don't want to say older, but a guy's past his prime, and David Avanesian. He wipes him out, he stops him. But that fight still kind of was a little more tougher than what we wanted to see. And then he follows up with this performance right here,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So I don't know if it's the style. I mean, if it's the styles make fights things where stylistically Boots might be better against a guy like Virgil Ortiz, where
Mm-hmm.
the styles of those two,
Kind of mesh a little bit more.
yeah, because Karen he moves
Yeah.
and Boots likes to punch and combinations and dig, and that's tough when you got a guy that got good movement, not just average movement, not running, but just solid. He'll be close. He understands his range.
Yeah.
Corinne knows how to get out the door. I don't want to say Boost don't know how to cut the ring off. I don't want to say that because Boost is a great fighter. But do you think it's 147? Do you think it's time for him to go up to 54?
Well, I mean, you heard what he was talking about at the post fight press conference. He did say that he was able to make 146, and doesn't have much to get down to 147. But for me, I feel like he needs to go to 154 for multiple reasons. Number one, 147, as far as like originally him trying to get those fights that he wanted to unify at 147, those fighters didn't initially want to oblige to fighting Boots Ennis. That's why it ended up being Karen Chikajian as the opponent there on Saturday. The other thing is with 154, a number of those fighters, from a financial perspective, give you more money.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing there with Virgil Ortiz, that's something where Turkey LLC could potentially be involved in that. You have multiple other fighters that are world champions that he could get involved with. What won't be necessarily Terrence Crawford, because Crawford is zeroing in on Santos, Alvarez, Barragan, Canelo and all that. But you could still have those fights with like a Sebastian Fundora, a Tim Zhu, a Erickson Lubin, multiple.
Oh, I like that. That would be
Yeah, like
Lubin and Boots. That would be.
that was mentioned, yesterday. When I talked about podcasts, and they said Erickson Lubin, I was like, yeah, that would be a fight right there. Or like I said, the IBF champ, he was able to beat up, Tim Zhu, because a lot of people expected Tim Zhu to, just go ahead and beat this guy, right? But that didn't happen. And surely didn't happen. And Tim Zhu, pretty much got slacked, got beat down. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, if you have all of these fighters at 154 pounds, why not go ahead and have Boots move up to 154 and try as like a 154?
Like you say, bro, I think his best fights, or what would give him that bigger platform and recognition, would be at 54 for the kind of name that he is. Like Boots is a solid name. He's not quite stardom, but he's not, you know what I mean? Like he's there. He just needs one of those bigger fights to propel him to that next level. And right now, once Crawford and Spence went up 147 to the fans that's gonna, the casual fans that want to fly out to fights and buy stuff like that, there aren't really a bunch of notable names
Mm-hmm.
to sell out. You know what I'm saying? Like they like, who's he fighting? Or just like they want to hear that build up. Like, no, this guy is like, it's like Crawford and Spence. That fight sold itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because it was so big. There's no other big name like that at 47 for Boots to really, go there. So like for that reason, like you said, that would be another reason why he would probably want to go there. How do you feel his power was in his last fight?
I feel his power was, pretty good, there in that fight. It's just, like I said, the whole thing with technique. Sometimes, as they say, it's not necessarily the punch that you see that'll get you. It's the punch that you don't see sometimes too. So,
Mm.
and the thing is, I didn't really see that many setups there from Boots Ennis to kind of like, give Chikazian different looks there. So that's why I was like, after that knockdown that happened, it's like he, just tried to go for, go all in on just throwing hooks upstairs and that type of stuff. And he wasn't necessarily successful with that. So, next up, I want to see, more versatility from him. If he faces like a Mario Barrios later on down the line, depending on what happens with Barrios on Friday night, that could be something. Or I've heard that it could potentially be a WBA champion, Imana Stanionis. So that would be another interesting fight there for Boots Ennis because Stanionis is someone that could, bang and could move. When Stanionis was on that Spence versus what was it? Udenis Ugas undercard. That fight that he had there, that was a very good action fight. So he showed that he could, get down and dirty with some of these fighters. But how would he be able to do against someone with the overall skill level or skill set that Bruce Hennis would have? That's the thing that I would kind of like look for if those two were able to fight here sometime in 2025.
I think Boots, like a good great fight for him would be Virgil. Um, Also, I had asked, his father or coach, I'm gonna say his coach, Bozy Ennis about, Conor Benn. Conor Benn is right now ranked the number 2 welterweight. They're also under the same umbrella, which is Matchroom.
Mm-hmm.
He just got his suspension lifted. They similar in age. Like I said, they both under the same umbrella. To me, that fight makes the most sense. I know he's chasing the champions and he wants to unify, but I mean, right now it doesn't look like either these guys want to fight or, you know what I mean? It's a lot to get them. I know he was trying to unify with Norman. I see that one fell through. Barrios is about to fight right now, so we don't know where that goes. You just said Stanionis. But until the smoke clears,
Mm-hmm.
you got Conor Benn, the number 2 welterweight, right now ranked
Mm-hmm.
under the same umbrella as you.
Mm-hmm.
So that fight, that takes out all the back and forth where you can say, "Yo, Eddie, let's make this happen," and Eddie can say, "Boom, boom, boom." But I don't like how do you see if that fight were to happen, or what do you think about that fight? What are your thoughts on something like that one?
I mean, like you said, they're both under matchroom boxing, and with the other champions, they could be, potentially, fighting somebody else. You got Brian Norman Jr. that's gonna, redo the fight with Derek Cuevas next year. You have, as you mentioned, Mario Barrios fighting on Friday, and for Iman Stanionis, if it's not something with Boots, then he's gonna end up facing Shakram Giasov, who's another fighter under matchroom boxing. So why not go ahead and have that fight with Conor Benn, depending on where they could have it at, that's going to be something that's going to generate interest from an international standpoint because Conor Benn is, still one of those names out of there in the UK. Because if they can't, have something going on between him and, Chris Eubank Jr., have him see if he could compete there against Ron Boots Ennis. Now, I know that Conor Benn was talking about at one point that maybe he won't be able to make 147, but if he does, then I would say that could be a really intriguing fight there for Boots Ennis.
See, I just seen a little interview though that Ben did this past weekend, where they was asking him, what's his plans going
Mm-hmm.
forward. He said he wants all the champions, of course. He said he wants the Barrios winner. He said he wants that WBC belt, but he also mentioned Jerron Ennis's name when he said, hey, he's one of those champions. Basically, he could get it too. Where he mentioned, hey, I don't mind. They asked Eddie. Eddie kind of backed him and said, hey, we want the champions. He named all those guys: Barrios, Stanionis, Norman, but he also said Ennis. He said we're chasing Ennis as well. So I don't know why there's not as much momentum towards something like that. Like I said, with it being as easier, much easier to make, or should be much easier to make if guys are willing to participate and
Hmm.
making the fight. I'm pretty sure the payday to be cool. Um, I don't think Ennis will go to England, of course, as the champion to fight, but I feel like that would be a big crowd. You know what I mean? Like I know over there in the UK, they real passionate about boxing.
Yeah.
So like a fight like that, probably American superstar Ennis going over there to fight that. I don't know what their venues look like, but I feel like that would help Ennis's global profile. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? I
Right.
feel like some fighters could benefit from going away and fighting somewhere else and coming back, because
Hmm.
it builds value. You know what I mean? Like when you go, it builds that, like it's cool to fight in your city, but you can go to other fan bases and they say, wow, yo, Shawty nice. You know what I'm saying? Like we go out there and have a stellar performance, and that will make him one of those big stars. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't mind him, like for me, to me, like if he can't get those champions, like I say, Conor Ben, that's a great fight because Ben has a bigger name. I feel like than all those other guys. Barrio's got that name off of coming off of a tough fight with Tank, but name like globally wise, I know those guys are champions, but payday wise, I feel like Ben could offer him the biggest payday even without a belt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that would be a good fight for Ennis.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like you said, you want to have a fighter have some, type of international influence. And if you're able to get boots out there over to the UK, whether it's like the O2 Arena or, some other venue out there in the UK and expose him or, have it on the flip side there, Conor Ben with the opportunity to, win a world title, then, that works both ways there for both fighters, but it definitely works for, matchroom boxing there. But to your point, as far as like Boots Ennis going to the UK, that's like how Tank Davis went over to the UK to fight Liam Walsh in 2017. To kind of get his name out there, while coming up. So that could be a good idea there for Boots Ennis to go forward and have that fight with Conor Ben. It's just given the current status of Conor Ben, like I said, he's recently cleared and everything like that. Now it's about what would be the next fight out there for Conor Ben if it's something like against a Boots Ennis, or maybe they say, hey, we got this much money to fight, have you fight Chris Eubank Jr. and he just does that. So it'll be interesting to kind of like see that. Anything from that like undercard that you want to bring up, like you had Van Rodriguez there against Pedro Guevara, that was like an easy night, for him. Ray Ford, had a decision victory out there. Khalil Cole got stopped. What else did you see out there in Philadelphia last weekend?
Okay, we could walk through. So co-main event, Bam did his thing. I really don't like certain guys be so good that I kind of want to see them in danger a little bit to see how good they are. You know what I mean? And Bam's one of those guys where like he's so good. You know what I'm saying? He's so much better than everybody else where it's like it looked easy. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like sometimes it looks easy where it's like, all right, somebody punch him. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody
Right.
somebody do something to this guy so I can see that dog a little bit more. Cause like this
Mm-hmm.
this this performance right here, patient. Like you just start touching the guy up, start going to that guy's body. That guy start feeling those shots, and then I think it was around three, the fight
Mm-hmm.
was over. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know what other fights. I'm not sure all the fighters down in the super fly. I know he said he went to do Chocolatito,
Yeah.
but other than like, I really don't know too many guys that's messing with Bam right now. I think Bam got a clear. I don't want to say clear path, but I don't know what Bam's biggest challenge would be other than him jumping up. I know he want to achieve those career accolades like unifying, going undisputed
Mm-hmm.
multiple times. Yeah, he want to achieve those accolades, so I get that. But like his trainer was saying, and he was saying, I'm only 24. Yeah, I haven't seen my full potential yet. I'm only 24, so that would be good. Um, let's see, the Raymond Ford fight. Ford is a world class fighter.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy watching Raymond Ford fight. Ford possesses the skills, the IQ. Um, he's a very good boxer, man. Very good boxer. Like, there's very little flaws in Ford's game when I watch him.
Hmm.
Um, he has great speed. He doesn't waste too many punches. That's one thing I can say. He's not super predictable. Ford just moved up to 130. I see he fought the guy for the WBA, was it Continental America, North America's title, or one of the WBA regional belts though, like that.
Hmm.
So I'm assuming that they're headed towards the WBA route, and the WBA 130 champion would happen to be Lamont Roach right now. We know Roach got the fight coming up with Tank, but he still would be the 130 champion. So I'm pretty sure within a fight or two, or depending on whatever, some point next year by either summertime, I'm gonna say maybe fall at the latest, that they'll be trying to make a fight between Raymond Ford and Lamont Roach Jr. That's what I'm assuming.
Hmm.
Just because he, like I say, he's got that WBA regional belt, so that's going to position him up there in those WBA rankings.
Yeah.
And he already got a familiarity with the sanctioning body from being the world champion at 26. So I'm pretty sure they going. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to make a fight with Lamont Roach at some point next year. What you think about a fight like that between Ford and Lamont Roach Jr.?
I mean that that could be something there that'll happen. Probably around this time next year. We got to see what happens first with Roach and Tank Davis. They're gonna follow through with that in the early part of 2025, and then after that, have Lamont Roach. What would happen there with that fight with Tank Davis? See if he'll go back down to 130 and have about with Raymond Ford. I mean, I felt like Raymond Ford was a lot more comfortable there at 130 pounds in comparison to 126, or at least in his past couple of fights. So you see that he was more fluid in his offense and was moving around very well with, around the ring, and was able to score some good shots there on Orlando Gonzalez on Saturday night, and having him get that almost a clean sweep victory there that says like, hey, okay, he's ready to compete there at 130 pounds. Now, real quick though, we had mentioned in a conversation on camera that there was another fighter there around 130 pounds that is from the DC area that could potentially compete against Raymond Ford, and that is short dog Jordan White. We've seen, or at least I've seen Jordan White, over at the Entertainment Sports Arena in Washington D.C. for a couple of his fights, and he's been climbing up the ranks there at 130 pounds. So, what about that as a potential fight for Raymond Ford before there could be a potential fight between Raymond Ford and Lamont Roach Jr.?
So, for those who don't know, I work with Short Dog White. That's family to me. So I'm always gonna be a little bit biased. But as well as that being said, Short Dog's track record in big fights speaks for itself. When those lights come on, them bright lights, he fought, I want to say, Misael Lopez on Showbox. I think it was 2021, something like that. Got a KO stoppage in there. Then he fought who else? A big fight. He fought not Misael, Ederson Garcia for the NABF Super Featherweight Championship.
Yeah.
Got a first round devastating knockout, probably a knockout of the year candidate. Then he followed up, defended his title against
Jonathan Akendo.
Jonathan Oquendo. Yeah.
Yeah.
He fought him. Another first round knockout. This guy's got some serious power. I think we will see the best out of him as the challenges rise. That's when the best comes out of him. I think him and Raymond Ford would be a great fight. I think that would be a great fight for the East Coast up and down. Short Dog brings a crowd. Raymond Ford does his thing, brings a crowd. 130. I don't know if Ford's boxing skills are there, so I definitely would give him a chance. But I don't know if Short Dog's turned on, man. His power is serious, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Mm.
That power he has, that power is serious. Like them guys, they can't play around. Like Short Dog put them boys out. What you think? How you see a fight like that?
I mean, it would be a great matchup there at 130 pounds, a great one. Both guys, around, the similar height and reach. You got, short dog there that, like you said, has a lot of pop behind his punches. So you can't necessarily, be there right in front of him. He'll definitely tag you and bust you up. Raymond Ford, has that movement and various skills, but as you've seen in a couple of fights, he can't get caught too you know. So, I would say it's definitely a something where it could be a 50-50 if you look at it, because like you said there with Jordan White and what he was able to do there in order to, win the NABF title and defend the NABF title there with, one of his fights in Washington, D.C. So I say that is a great matchup there overall at 130 pounds. And I say, hey, why not go ahead and have that particular fight? It's not like, Jordan White is necessarily tied to a, major promotional company there. So, Matchroom, you could have something where, whether it's in, the Philadelphia area, I wouldn't say it would be like over in Raymond Ford's hometown, but something that's, kind of like, midway or something like that between the two cities to have that fight take place. And I would definitely be for it. I mean, even if it's at the Eckerd Center in Philadelphia, and that's like a main event, they could do that, and with enough push, they'll be able to get those folks out there from New Jersey and from the DC area that come over there in Philadelphia and pack the place.